Call of Duty Major 2 is going to be going on from March 31st until April 3rd. I am so excited to get down to Minnesota. This is personally my first event competing in Call of Duty since World War II Champs, which was 4 years ago. So not only am I excited to compete, but I'm also extremely excited to watch all these matches that are going to be starting on Thursday. And I'm just looking at this pick'ems bracket that the Call of Duty League put out here. And I'm just going to fill this out. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on all these teams, what I think these matchups are going to be. I think overall, me and a couple of my friends, Aches, Enable, and Parasite, really just go through all these teams in depth, and we like to do our little tier list and everything. So for Major 1, I believe every single team that we put in a tier list finished in the exact order of the tier list that we did, which is pretty nuts. And then we just filled out a second one as well. So this pick'em bracket, guys, if you guys are huge Call of Duty fans, or if you guys have certain favorites that you guys are interested in, let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with my bracket. But with all that being said, I want to go through every single one of these matchups for round 1, losers round 1, and then progress throughout the bracket and see who the champion is going to be from the winners bracket, losers bracket, and of course, who's going to win Major 2. So if you guys are excited, please leave a like on the video, comment down below what you guys think, and let's get started. Okay, so just going from the top of this pick'ems bracket, obviously this isn't in like scheduled order. It says New York Subliners Atlanta FaZe is going to start at 6, but Optic Texas versus Seattle Surge at 7:30. This match, to me, to be honest with you guys, I don't think it's going to be that close. If I was a betting man, I would just put my money on Optic 3-0, maybe 3-1, but I'm going to stick with the 3-0 just because of how dominant Optic Texas has looked. The only 2 series that they've really lost were the 2 Game 5 round 11s, which they kind of choked both of them versus Minnesota and I believe it was Seattle, right? So Optic Texas is looking really, really good. And outside of those round 11, like 1v1 losses that they had, they basically dominated every single team they played online and on land. Scup and Shotzi are the best sub duo in Call of Duty right now. It's weird to not say that FaZe and Simp and a BZ are, but Scup and Shotzi are clearly the best sub duo. Dash is the best main AR in the league, and I think he's honestly their X factor. I think he really stepped it up from day 1 of the game in the preseason until when the actual season began. He's become one of the best, if not the best player in the Call of Duty League. So I definitely think Optic Texas is going to win this 3-0, but Surge has been looking a little bit better as of recently. They did beat Atlanta FaZe in that one online match. I could see them potentially winning a match or 2 in the lower bracket, maybe getting to top 8 or top 6, but playing the best team that just won the first major, who's undefeated in stage 2 qualifiers, you're not expected to win this. I mean, it's possible. They have some great players in that team. I still really like the Seattle Surge roster, but ultimately, I'm just going to say Optic Texas 3-0 because I just think they look way too good right now. Moving forward into this next match, we have the New York Subliners versus Atlanta FaZe. Now, this, to me, is a really interesting match because yesterday, Pristini filled in for Simp because Simp was sick for that Optic match, and Pristini looked really good, and Optic still dominated the series. It was a 3-0. It wasn't close. Now, obviously, Simp is arguably the best player in Call of Duty. He has been for the past few years. But even with him out, if Pristini's going to be filling in and playing at the level he did, I believe that the map should have been a little bit closer. I do think that the tick roll and control is going to benefit FaZe drastically. I think that's one of their bread and butters going back to Cold War, which I think they've been struggling on this year, which is the reason why they didn't get first place in the first tournament. So this is a really interesting matchup. On the flip side, you have New York Subliners, who has Paul X, my old teammate. He got the call up to New York, and I'm really happy for him because he won 2 matches with London on a 2-week contract. Got the call to New York. He's won all 3 of his matches with New York. They played some pretty decent competition. I believe they just beat Toronto Ultra as well. I could easily see an upset happening here just because Atlanta FaZe, to me, hasn't shown me that they're still going to be as dominant as they were in Cold War. And New York Subliners hasn't showed me their highest ceiling. But with that being said, I'm still going to say Atlanta FaZe in this series 3-1. If this does go to a Game 5, I'm going to be pretty scared for Atlanta. Although I know their Search and Destroy is good, I know what Paul X brings to a team in Search and Destroy. So look out for this to potentially go to a Game 5 and having a potential upset with New York, because all they've done with their new player is win every series that they've been in. And all we've seen from FaZe is that Pristini subbed in and they got 3-0'd by Optic, which at the end of the day, you can't really expect too much if it's Optic Gaming. But I still think that the Optic and Atlanta FaZe rematch is going to be happening in round 2 on Saturday, and that venue is going to be going crazy. So one of the other winners round matches, we had the London Royal Ravens versus the Florida Mutineers. I do not have much hope in Florida. I drastically think that they need a pacing change. Maybe they put in Yeez from the bench on their team. He's a lot more of an aggressive player. I think that Florida has so much talent between Dab Patty, Awakening might be one of the best slayers in Call of Duty. Sky's one of the most consistent slayers in Call of Duty. And then you have Vivid, who I feel for him because he's sitting there, he's dropping a .9 with his sub, but he's got 3 players that aren't going to bait for him. And to have a .9 with 3 players that don't bait for you is pretty impressive if you ask me. So I think Reese is the only one who's going to try to push any pace on that team. I truly think that they need a Colt Havoc or a Route Man type player like they had last year on this team specifically. So until they make a change, I truly don't see Florida doing anything, especially against a caliber team like London Royal Ravens. They just got 3rd at the last major. Granted, they only beat Gorillas and I believe Toronto from winners bracket, but that's the advantage you get from coming into the winners bracket that you get from winning your online qualifier matches, which London did, and they also did again. They're still looking very good. They're still looking very consistent. I still want to see more out of Joey Gizmo, personally, because he was one of their best players in the qualifier matches in Stage 1, and then he didn't play as good on LAN. Obviously, he had some issues that he had to work out. I hope nothing but the best for the kid. I hope he could show out and perform. I think this is a great first match specifically for Joey Gizmo to go crazy. I'm going to say London's going to take this 3-0. Moving on to the final winners bracket match, we have the Boston Breach versus the Los Angeles Guerrillas. This match to me is really exciting because Los Angeles Guerrillas have been a middle-of-the-pack team the entire year. They haven't really shown me anything less than being middle of the pack. They also have shown strides of potentially being in an A tier or in maybe a top 4 conversation, especially with the talent they have in their team and the way that Asim has been playing. You expect their superstars like Slasher to start showing up and making winning plays for the team, which he has been recently. So LAG is looking really good, but then again, Boston has just made so many leaps and improvements from every single day, starting from when their team was announced in the Call of Duty League. They went from nobody believed in them to thinking that they were going to be trash. The words that Boston used were a Herculean effort to try to make this season competitive. They came into it with low expectations, which makes a lot of sense, but I think that their general manager and their coach have done a phenomenal job picking some up-and-coming talent and challengers, picking some veterans. It's a great way of forming a team, in my opinion. They've only gotten better and better. They're 4-1 in their Season 2 Elite Qualifier matches for Stage 2. This is going to be a close series. Boston, I need to see more of them on LAN as well. Obviously, I know what I'm going to get out of the LAG boys because they've been playing for a long time. I think Boston's going to... I think they're going to squeeze this one out 3-2. I think it's going to be a very close series. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means, and I think it'll come down to the wire, and I expect Capsule to have a great Game 5. All right, so we finished all the winners bracket matches. This is where this bracket is going to start getting very interesting, and I think a lot of people are going to have mixed feelings and emotions on how these matchups are going to play out. This is just my opinion. If you love it or hate it, just let me know in the comments. So, losers bracket round 1. We have Seattle Surge versus Minnesota Rocker. This, to me, flip a coin. Seriously, I don't know who's going to win. I love the Minnesota team dynamic, and I love how they're a team, and they believe in each other, and they've been playing together for a long time. They've seen a lot of highs and lows. So for that, I want to give them the edge in the series 3-2. I think Seattle has a really good team dynamic, which they just haven't figured out yet. And I just feel like Minnesota has a little bit more composure than Seattle does. And I think both of these teams are going to make mistakes. I think both of these teams aren't playing to the expectations that they have for each other. And it's really unfortunate, but I do think one of them is going to place dead last. And in the Call of Duty League, with all this competition, you're going to have great teams like Seattle Surge that could potentially place dead last. So I think this would be a very close series, but I just think that Minnesota's 2, 3, and 5 is really strong. I think that they're having issues with their role change, so Seattle could take advantage of that. But seriously, I'd flip a coin. I'm just going to say Minnesota 3-2. Moving on to this last elimination round 1 match. This is going to be a very interesting match as well. I think I'm going to make a lot of people upset with this prediction, but I got New York Subliners winning this 3-0. And I think this is going to make some people go crazy. But my reasoning behind it is that New York Subliners could not win a hardpoint. Then they got Paul X, and they've been 6-0 in hardpoint. So their hardpoint's looking really good. Neptune looks like a different person. I mean, he went from being potentially one of the worst players in the league with his first team to a great player in the league. I see him running an automaton a lot. I see him consistently getting a lot of kills, a lot of engagements. The flow just seems to be a lot better with Paul on the team. That's going to transition into their control game as well. Los Angeles Thieves have completely digressed in their hardpoint, which was their bread and butter. They've lost a lot of confidence in each other. Their search and destroy looks abysmal. New York's search and destroy, I know with Paul on the team, is going to be great. I don't see New York losing a hardpoint or a search to this Thieves team. I easily see them going up 2-0 in the series, specifically after both teams lost that round 1. I still think New York is going to have a lot of hope and optimism, considering all they did online was win, right? All they did online was win. They're going into this tournament. They're playing Atlanta FaZe round 1. They went from being 0-2 to 3-2. Now they're going to be playing a Los Angeles Thieves team that's been basically in the shatter, just not playing well at all, and they don't have any confidence. So I fully expect New York to come out hot, win this series 3-0, and send Thieves home packing, and potentially either a role change or a roster change moving into the offseason or moving into the mid-season break. Moving forward into the other two loser round 1 or elimination round 1 matches, we have Florida Mutineers versus Paris Legion. Again, like, I'm just going to pick Paris in this matchup just because they have a lot of players in that team that are new to the Call of Duty League. You got Jimbo and Tom, and I know these two players from Challengers personally. Jimbo put up one of the worst series in Call of Duty League history. I know he holds himself to a very high standard, and I know he's going to want to come out and go crazy. I don't think this is going to be a 3-0 as per se. I think it'll probably be a 3-2, but again, I just do not have any faith in the Florida Mutineers composition as it stands right now. When I saw Awakening go triple positive for the loss on a Tuscan hardpoint, it was the first time in my life I've seen them in Call of Duty. My head was scratching. And the Paris Legion team, I don't think they're great either, but I think they're just going to have a little bit more fight in them. And I just think that there's going to be a lot of shuffling moving around after these matches end. So I'm going to take Paris in this 3-2. In the other losers match, this is going to be a very interesting match to me. Los Angeles Guerrillas versus Toronto Ultra. I think both of these teams have a lot to prove, and I think both of these teams are potentially trying to compete for a championship, and one of these teams is going to finish last, and I don't know if it's necessarily going to be fair for them, but nothing in competition is fair. Toronto has been digressing. They've had a lot of players having COVID week after week after week, which is probably affecting them more than you guys know. If you've ever had COVID and tried to play competitive Call of Duty, your head is just not in the game. It depends on the severity of it, but I just know that it's going to be tough to focus when you're having some form of an illness. So I want to cut Toronto a little bit of slack. I think LAG has been a consistent middle of the pack team. I just really feel like Toronto's teamwork is going to show here, and this is going to be a close series. I think this is going to be a 3-2 for Toronto, and they're going to edge it out in a map 5 win, and it's going to be close the entire series because I just think both of these teams are good teams, and I don't think either of them deserve to get last, but it is what it is, and I'm just going to have Ultra moving on to play the Paris Legion. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where the tournament's going to be getting very interesting, and these matches are going to be coming down to the wire. This is the matchup you've all been waiting for. We didn't get this online because Pristini filled in for Sim. We're going to have Optic Texas versus Atlanta FaZe, and I'm here to tell you guys that Optic Texas is going to put their foot down, and the green wall is going to be coming out crazy. This is going to be a 3-1 series for Optic Texas, just because right now there's not a single 4-man team, in my opinion, in Call of Duty that can take down Optic Texas, even Atlanta FaZe. And it's crazy for me to be saying that. This is the first time in, I believe, 2 years where I'm looking at Atlanta FaZe in a Call of Duty bracket, and I just think that they're simply inferior to the team that they're playing, which is weird for me to say, but it's about time. They've had their run. They've dominated for 2 years. They're still there. They could beat Optic, just not yet. I don't think that they've gotten the right preparation. I think Optic is just a little bit ahead of all these teams, and I think it's going to take some teams a little bit of time to figure out how Optic plays. So for now, I'm going to say Atlanta FaZe is going to lose this 3-1, and I think Optic is going to move on to winners round 3. The other winners round 2 match, we have London Royal Ravens versus Boston Breach. This match to me is going to be interesting because I don't know Boston Breach's potential, and I do know what London is going to give me on LAN. With that being said, I do know London beat Boston online, so all the odds are going to be going towards London here. I think everyone's going to say London's a top 3 team in the game. They have been looking really good in all their matches and all their qualifiers. But again, I just think this Boston Breach team has a lot to prove. And even though they lost online, for some reason, I just feel like Boston doesn't really have much of a weak mode. I don't think they're amazing at everything and as dominant as like an Optic Texas is. But I also don't think that they're like a liability in a control or in a search and destroy and a hard point. So I think this series, surprisingly, I think this is going to be a Boston 3-2 over London Royal Ravens. I think these teams both match up very well versus each other. And I really think in the Call of Duty League, outside of Optic Texas, it's almost like a day-to-day game, which is what you really want in competitive Call of Duty at the highest level, is the best players being able to beat each other and running series back and winning and losing series. Because if there's always going to be one team winning, it's not going to be fun. And I think both of these teams match up very well. I'm going to take Boston Breach in this 3-2. For elimination round 2, we're going to have the Minnesota Rocker facing off against the New York Subliners. I don't think this series is going to be that close. I think Minnesota has a lot of holes in their game right now. I could argue that they've looked worse since they've had their role swap for some reason. I don't know how this team isn't performing as well as they should, in my opinion, but once New York made that one-person change, everything has changed for them. I think they're going to keep riding this momentum. I think they're going to make a run. I have them beating Minnesota Rocker. I think it's going to be a 3-1. I think Minnesota might edge out the search and destroy, but I just think New York's respawn is looking so good with Paul right now, and I just think that they're going to have a lot of confidence as well. I think Minnesota's confidence is kind of shattered. They've been teaming together for a long time. They're going through a patch right now. They're going to have composure, but I think New York is going to win the series 3-1. Elimination round 2, we're going to have Paris Legion versus Toronto Ultra. Now, surprisingly enough, Paris did beat Toronto in an online match, and I did say that Boston lost to London in the online match, and then Boston's going to come out and win the LAN match. I think the same is going to happen here with Toronto. I think Toronto's going to come out and win this match. If they lost to Paris Legion in this match, I definitely see them making a roster change, but I just don't see that happening. I just think Toronto has great teamwork and chemistry. I think they've been playing together for a long time, even though they're going through a rough patch right now, similar to Minnesota Rocker. I think Toronto's confidence is still very high just because their team had a lot more success last year. They won the kickoff this year, and even though they didn't win a hard point in stage 1, they still placed 4th. So I think that their confidence is still going to be there. I don't think they're going to be doubting each other. I think Toronto's going to take this 3-0. Surprisingly enough, the winners finals for me is going to be Optic Texas versus, yes, the Boston Breach. We got the green wall versus Into the Breach, green versus green. I just think Optic Texas right now is by far, and I don't think a team can really compete with this Optic Texas team right now. Although Boston Breach has been looking really good, they look great in their online matches. I look at this series looking similar to when Optic played London in stage 1, and London was looking really good in their online matches. I believe it was a 3-1. I think the same is going to happen here with Boston Breach. I think they're going to get outclassed by Optic and lose this 3-1. And it's nothing against Boston Breach. It's just when you're trying to win at the highest level in Call of Duty, when you're trying to make a Herculean effort by putting a team together, you really can't ask for much better than being something better than dead last. And I think this Boston Breach team is surprisingly just getting better as the season goes on. And to have them in the winners finals of stage 2 for me is an accomplishment if I'm Boston Breach. And look, there's no shame in losing to a team like Optic Gaming. Obviously, these competitors believe that they can win and they can beat them, which is as you should. But right now, I've just seen so much greatness from Optic Texas, top to bottom. It's just going to be so hard to beat this team. It's possible, but I got Optic winning this 3-1 and moving on to the grand finals. So now moving into elimination round 3, this is going to be for the final 4, Subliners versus Ravens. This is going to be a close series. I predicted New York Subliners to get top 4 at this event, so for that alone, I'm going to put Subliners 3-2 over London Royal Ravens. I think Paul is going to have a lot of information on this London team just because he played with them for about a week or so. So he's going to know a lot of their search and destroy strategy. He's going to know all their breakoffs and hardpoint, which I think New York's going to know regardless. But I think that the difference in this series is going to be the search and destroy. I believe London is going to win the control. I think they're going to split the hardpoints. And then I think London, honestly, is probably going to win maybe 2, 3, and I don't know. They're probably going to win map 2 and 3. I think that New York's going to win map 1 hardpoint, come out strong, lose to the next 2, win map 4 hardpoint, and then win game 5 search and destroy off of Paul X and his knowledge on this London team. I think this matchup is going to be really close, but ultimately I think New York's going to move on to the final 4. And then elimination round 3, we're going to have Atlanta FaZe versus Toronto Ultra. I just think FaZe is still a top 2, top 3 team in the game. And I'd be surprised, honestly, if Ultra's going to win this. I don't think that their hardpoints improved drastically since Major 1. And I think Atlanta FaZe is still a great team. I haven't seen much weakness in them, honestly. They just look a little bit inconsistent at times, but I've also seen strides where they look like the best team in the world. So I think this series is going to be a 3-1 or a 3-0. I'll say just because I think Toronto's a great team, it'll be a 3-1. But I could easily just see FaZe running through this matchup, to be honest with you guys. I feel like once teams start doubting Atlanta FaZe, which I feel a lot of people are starting to doubt them as being the best team in the game, it's going to light Atlanta's fire. And I think at some point this year they're going to win something. And who knows, maybe it's going to be this tournament. But I have them beating Toronto Ultra in this matchup 3-1. So elimination round 4, we got New York Subliners versus Atlanta FaZe, and this is going to go to the elimination finals, which ultimately is going to make you top 3, which in my opinion makes you a very elite team in the Call of Duty World League. And for New York Subliners to make it this far in the tournament, to be playing against a team of the caliber of Atlanta FaZe, I just think that this is where New York's tournament is going to end. I think that they made great improvements getting Paul X. Obviously, getting top 4 at your first major and winning a lot of series online is going to completely change your morale. I think New York is only going to lose to FaZe. Do I think it'll be a 3-0? Yes, I do. I only think it's going to be a 3-0 just because I think Atlanta FaZe top to bottom has a better team dynamic than New York Subliners. I also think Atlanta FaZe is going to have a lot of confidence in this losers bracket, and I also think they're going to be a team on a mission trying to make a run to beat Optic Gaming. So although I think New York is going to be good, I think these maps are going to be competitive, I do think Atlanta is going to 3-0 this, and people are going to have their eyes wide open and say, oh, here comes Atlanta. They're coming for this finals. Now, moving on to the elimination finals, we're going to have Atlanta FaZe versus Boston Breach. I think this will be a 3-1. I think that Atlanta is going to lose the search in this series. I just really believe in Boston to at least win the map in this series, to be honest with you guys, just because they've had a lot more time together as a team, whereas New York, they just made this role change and this roster change about a week or so ago. I think Boston has a great team overall, but I just think FaZe is going to be on fire going through this losers bracket. And look, Breach to get top 3rd at the major, they went from top 6 to top 3rd. That's great improvement. And I think if I'm Boston, I'm very happy. If I'm these players, I'm very happy. And more than anything, I'm having fun and I'm motivated to continue competing, because it's very demoralizing when you're on a team, even if you're in the league, and you're just losing all the time. So I think Breach is going to be very happy with their results, just like New York, but I think FaZe is going to show why they're FaZe, and they're going to go back in the finals, and we're going to see a repeat of stage 1, and we're going to have Optic Texas versus Atlanta FaZe in the grand finals. So guys, this is the matchup everyone has been waiting for. This is what we've all been wanting to see. This is going to be a rematch of winners round 2, a rematch of stage 1. Optic Texas versus Atlanta FaZe in the grand finals. I think we're going to be saying this a lot in Call of Duty Vanguard, and I think we're going to be saying a lot of Optic winning in Call of Duty Vanguard, because right now, matchup, head-to-head, this Optic team just simply matches up better than this Atlanta FaZe team. I do think in the first finals, it was very unfortunate that Alex started lagging. I don't think if he was lagging, they would have lost that control. So I think they would have made that series 4-3. But ultimately, I do think that Optic's Search and Destroy is simply better than Atlanta FaZe's Search and Destroy. So in a best-of-9 series, you're going to be playing every Search and Destroy. I just think that really benefits Optic Texas in this mode a lot. I think that their respawn is great top to bottom. They don't have any weak link. I think FaZe has a little bit of inconsistency when it comes to beating this Optic team. I just feel like there's always a player on this team that's just underperforming randomly for some reason. So if they could fix that issue, they could win. But ultimately, I think this is going to go down to the wire. I think that the ticks and control is going to help Atlanta FaZe. I think it benefited Optic that it wasn't ticks because of their slaying power and their map awareness. But I think Atlanta might squeeze out another control here. But I do think that Optic's going to win this 5-4. And I think that the last map, Search and Destroy, is going to be close. These two teams match up very well against each other. But overall, with game knowledge, game sense, from what I've seen from both of these teams, Optic Texas has slightly better game sense than Atlanta. I don't know if it's the time to kill, if it's the squad spawning, if it's the map layouts, if it's the team composition. But to me, if you put these teams up against each other, Optic is just better than FaZe. Now, FaZe could win, but I just think that Optic is still the best team in Call of Duty, and it's going to be hard for me to go against them at this point, which is what I said about FaZe going into Major 1. And then Optic proved me wrong by reverse sweeping them and basically bullying them in the finals. Although some of the maps were close, they did bully them. So Optic Texas, to me, is going to be crowned your Stage 2 Call of Duty League champions, back-to-back champions. First time in a while we're saying that about Optic Texas, but I think it's long overdue. I think it's great for Call of Duty. I think it's great for the fan base. And yeah, I think that Scump has a lot to prove. He's in that GOAT conversation. A lot of people want to say that he's the GOAT. I still strongly disagree with that statement until he can win another world championship and a league MVP. I think he needs that on his resume, and I think he heard that, and I think he's going to be very motivated to come out with the fire. As a longtime competitor like Scump, I know that you go through your highs and your lows, and you have your moments of just feeling defeated, which he did earlier this year with those round 11 1v1s that they lost, where he said there's a light at the end of this tunnel, and they won. And he knows how hard it is to win. He's been around for a long time. I'm sure he's telling this team, guys, I don't care that we just won. We're a great team, but it doesn't mean we're going to win the next one, because Atlanta FaZe is coming for us. London's coming for us. New York's coming for us. Thieves might be coming for us. Toronto's coming for us. Boston. There's a lot of teams coming with fire trying to beat us, and it's not going to be easy. We got to stay in our A game, because winning is hard. And I think that this Optic Texas team has that perfect balance right now of composure, of great coaching, of great facilities, of great work ethic, of great team composition, of talent. They have it all. So I think if Optic loses, it's going to be a disappointment. And I think that they're not going to lose. They're going to beat Atlanta FaZe 5-4. That's going to do it for my Call of Duty pick'ems. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And also, on a side note, guys, because I know a lot of you guys are going to be upset that I said New York's going to 3-0 LA Thieves. Some of you FaZe fans might be upset as well. If I get any of these series long, which I'm very confident that this is exactly how the tournament will play out, because our pick'ems, me, Ace, Enable, and Parasite, have been spot on. So I'm pretty confident this is how it's going to go. You could argue some of them, but for any of these series that don't go in the way that I picked them on this bracket, for any of these series that lose when I say a team's going to win, I'm going to do 5 pull-ups per loss per series. nonstop. So if it's going to be like 4, which I drastically doubt, that'll be 20 straight. So if you guys are excited to see anything like that, let me know in the comments down below. But I'm that confident. If there's any other like challenges, if there's like any form of loss or any bracket that I messed up on, let me know what I should do, because that's how confident I am that this is exactly how the tournament will play out. But let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. If you guys want to fill out one of these pick'em brackets, tweet it to me on Twitter, and just let me know what your thoughts are on Major 2. I'm really excited to be there. I'm really excited to compete. If you guys see me, please say hi. And with all that being said, guys, that's my Major 2 bracket pick'ems. I think Optic Texas is going to win again, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. It's been your boy Doug Martin, and I'm out, guys. Peace.